What is going on, guys? DC Podcast episode 30, 30, 24, 25,
24.
24. How you doing, Alex?
24. I'm doing pretty good. Before we get into that, what's up with that intro?
People demanded me hear what I say.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I've known this because I've been a big fan of Andy's and his content from the very beginning, and I've always known the beginning intro to be what's going on, guys, but it's very like conjoined. What's going on, guys? Like, I can't even do it. I can't even do it like you do.
You know what I'm saying? You can clearly hear what I'm saying every time.
Yeah. But hey, man, it's like that Taylor Swift song where everybody thought the lyrics got a lot of Starbucks lovers, and it was something totally different, but it really did sound like Starbucks lovers. I'm thinking, well, hey, maybe it's about coffee. I don't know. Anyway, I'm doing pretty good, Andy. Really busy week. Work's been crazy. Haven't really been able to do anything on the content creation front, which has been a little frustrating, but those weeks happen sometimes. That's just the way it goes. So, how's everything going for you?
Gambling.
Gambling.
Been pretty good at it this past week.
Yeah.
To not go into specific numbers, from the last time I recorded to now, I have a 300% increase in the amount of money I have in my account.
Well, that counts for something, doesn't it? I mean, you've shown me how much you've made, how much you've lost, the ups, the downs. It's kind of like the stock market, but even worse, I feel like. Because, like, sports is just so unpredictable. What's up? Why are you sighing?
You lagged for like a solid 45 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying is, I've seen the ups, the downs that you've put out there. Very limited stuff you've shown me, but it seems like it's kind of like betting on the stock market, but worse. Like, it's so volatile, so unpredictable.
Nah, some things are predictable.
Yeah, well, some things, like the Marlins, because they're awful.
Yeah. You can just bet on the Marlins or the Orioles every night, and you're good.
Yeah, that's very true. So, anything cool going on at the movie theater? Any cool stuff?
No.
Nothing?
No. Just a slow week, Just waiting up for Endgame.
Yeah, I can't really think of many movies coming out lately, really.
Last week, Pet Sematary and Shazam came out. This week is Hellboy. Next week is Breakthrough. And then Avengers. This weekend, I'm going to my college and visiting.
Yeah.
So, got the weekend off.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Hellboy does well. Because I think, it's good to have stuff like that that's different, rated R, all that. Yeah. How's Pet Sematary doing?
The best is doing better than Shazam.
It's doing better than Shazam, really?
Yeah. At my theater, at least.
Oh, man, I thought Shazam was going to blow up. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Dumbo's still going strong.
Well, I mean, it's Dumbo. And it looks really good. And I'll probably end up buying Dumbo when it comes out on Blu-ray. I don't know if I'm going to go see it in theaters.
Oh, I forgot the movie a bunch of old people are watching. The Best of Enemies came out this week, too.
The Best of Enemies?
Something like that.
What is that?
It's about, like, a racist white dude and a black person. Something like that.
I don't know anything about this. I'm intrigued, though, because, like, this sounds like something that never would have gotten greenlit. Especially in today's social justice warrior society. That's cat flip number 1, by the way.
It's like Green Book number 1. Or 2, sorry.
And by the way, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, I made a rule this episode. I'm gonna count how many cat flips happen. So the cat's gonna the cat jumps up on the left side, Andy's left side. I assume the cat's going for like the keyboard or something like that. And Andy picks it up and
Random.
just places it over his right shoulder, and the cat just almost instantly just
Yeah, this is a daily
no
struggle.
no disregard for Andy's authority, like no regard for Andy's authority whatsoever. Just jumps up. Just I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The description of the movie is the true story of the unlikely friendship between Ann Atwater, an outspoken civil rights activist, and C.P. Ellis, a local Ku Klux Klan leader.
Well,
As said, a racist person and a black person.
I mean, all it's missing is Medea, and then you got a.
It has Taraji P. Henson, and so
I love her. She's amazing. Everything she's in is good. She's just great. But also, my wife loves her, so maybe my wife will want to see it at some point. Maybe I could buy that on Blu-ray.
well, there's the cat.
Oh, geez. Okay, cat flip number 2.
That was the wrong. The cat kicked off my hue light off the desk.
So, cool. Well, nothing really in the what's poppin' section of the podcast. Let's get into some listener questions. The first one is a little bit of a punt, no pun intended, since we're talking about football. Bobby on Twitter at Cuban Swim. I hope he doesn't mind that I called him Bobby, because I just know him as Bobby. But anyway, he asks, how about a DCD mock draft by each of you for at least the first 10 picks? We're gonna punt this one, and we're gonna
do it next week.
Yeah, we're gonna think about this one, do a little
We're
bit
gonna
more
acknowledge
research.
the fact that you asked the question. We're not gonna ignore it,
Yeah,
but
we'll do it next week. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, definitely fill a little bit of time.
It can cover all the listener questions next week.
Yeah, definitely. So we will absolutely answer that next week, Bobby. So thanks for the question. Hopefully you'll tune in for 25. Hard to believe it's going to be 25, but yeah, we'll do it then, and I'll actually give my picks and why I think they're a good pick. So
Our next question we have.
there you go, Andy. Take it away.
Hi, Cowboys fan back here with another pack opening. Anyways, how do you feel about current NFL jerseys, and what teams do you believe need a makeover?
So I have not liked the new uniform design since Nike took over. And I'll give a couple examples of Nike designs that I have not liked thus far. So, for example, the Jets uniforms that just recently got unveiled, most people didn't like those.
No,
I actually liked the white version of those jerseys. I assume those are the away jerseys. I did not like the green. I thought those were hideous, and I certainly didn't really care for the black. I thought those were, I hate to say this, but like too monochromatic, like not enough contrast on those. I thought they were too dark. I like, if you're going to do like a blacked out uniform, there needs to be some contrast to it. So for example, the Atlanta Falcons all black uniforms, they have that nice white and red contrast to them to kind of make them pop a little bit. That's just me. Another good example of a Nike uniform redesign that I really did not like was my personal favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I liked some of the aspects, like where they brought in the old Buccaneers orange as a highlight on the jersey. I like how they implemented a lot of pewter, and they mixed that with whites and reds to kind of come up with a cohesive uniform. But what killed that uniform for me, and still does to this day, is the font that they used on the numbers. It looks like an alarm clock. In fact, amongst Bucs fans, we call it the alarm clock uniform. So I don't like them. I can't think of any other redesigns that they've done recently that I don't like, but I kind of liked it better when Reebok was handling the uniforms, because I felt like they had more reverence for the classic looks.
I don't really have a hate for any jerseys besides the new ones, the new Jet. And then the only other team I would say is the new Jaguar jersey, where they're just completely like, well, it's bedtime. The jersey's like completely one color, and it has like their little logo on like the shoulder. And
Yeah.
it looks, and it's not just super bland.
Yeah, I don't really like what they did with the new Jaguars jerseys. I actually was a fan of the previous ones. That's one team I would like to get a makeover. I would really like the Bucks to maybe go back to something closer to their 96 uniforms. The ones that they implemented right after the creamsicle uniforms. Then there's teams like the Giants and like the Giants, the Patriots, the Steelers, where I don't really want to tinker with those too much because I feel like they're kind of modern classics.
Cowboys.
Yeah, the Colts, the Cowboys, those are like classics or modern classics, if you will.
Yeah.
In some cases that I wouldn't want to tinker with. I think the Texans could maybe benefit a little bit from a makeover because I don't really feel like they've changed their uniform that much. I will say one uniform redesign that I really liked last year that I know wasn't very popular was the Tennessee Titans ones. I really liked theirs. I thought theirs was really nicely done.
Just bring back the baby blue Charger jerseys.
Yeah.
Every game.
And don't ever
Just
change
wear
the Packers.
baby blue every game.
Yeah. Those are, to me, those are the best uniforms in all professional sports. Those baby blues. They're that good.
Besides the throwback 49ers 90s jerseys.
Well, those are pretty good too. See, like that's a good example of something that Nike did right. Bringing those back, right?
Yeah.
But, and you know what I don't miss? Color Rush. Never liked Color Rush. Thought the whole concept was stupid.
I remember it was either the first or second Color Rush game. They didn't think about it, and one team's jerseys were all red, and the other team's jerseys was all green. It was like the Jets and the Patriots or something like that. So colorblind people could not tell which team was which.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't tell the difference. There's a whole thing on Twitter about colorblind people being like, yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, man. It was pretty rough. I mean the Bucks Color Rush kind of grew on me. A lot of the all white Color Rush jerseys, like I like those, but there were some really gross ones. Like the Seahawks Color Rush was gross.
Seahawks jerseys are just gross.
The Bills, I felt like the Bills, they could have done so many cool things with the Color Rush, and then they ended up, I think, doing like an all red with them. They ended up looking like lobsters running around out there. I really wasn't a big fan of it, but thanks to Colby for the question.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So, moving on to entertainment. We really don't have that much. I just wanted to talk about
Very slow
Detective.
week.
Yeah, I didn't want. We have no video game news because there's nothing going on in video games right now, other than people continually complaining about Sekiro and the.
Unless you want to talk about Fortnite, the whole ordeal.
The suicide scene.
No,
Oh,
I have no idea what you're talking about. But competitive players complaining about Fortnite.
what are they complaining about?
They changed. They put in something in the game where you get like 50 health when you kill someone, and then they took it out of the game. And their competitive players are complaining to put it back in the game. And then Shroud made a good point about it, about complaining, and it kind of resonates with you, with the whole Madden competitive players. He's like, the best thing to do is complain and make the game the best way possible. Complain.
I mean, there's some truth to it.
Which is a very loose adaptation of what he's.
I don't know, man. Like, as someone who thinks Madden should be better than it is, like, I agree. Maybe that kind of feedback is what will get the game to be better. At some point, though, I think that you can go too far with it. But I will say, like,
Yeah.
it's fair to complain about something like that. That feels like a major change in terms of gameplay.
They put it like, I think it's where pubs, it's not there, but the competitive game mode it is. Or the opposite. Either in pubs it's there in the competitive. I think it's in the competitive mode, not the other one.
See, I hate that, man, because like I feel like competitive. Like the one thing I will say is from games that I've played that have a competitive aspect to them, I feel like the competitive mode should be as close to the actual gameplay experience
Our
online.
boy Wings of Redemption has always been saying this about Pro COD.
What do you mean?
There should
Yeah.
not be rules. Pro COD should have the exact same game settings as a pub. Like, you should be able to use C4 Claymores.
Yeah.
That's why competitive COD isn't that popular. Is because it's a different game.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Completely different game.
yeah, just kind of keep it the same. And, don't why differentiate it? Like, one of the biggest things I hate.
It's splitting the community.
Yeah, that's so weird though. Like, and I know that some of the Madden players that are competitive, they're always going to talk about skill gap, but I hate that. I hate that argument. Like, you create the skill gap in a game, not the game itself, right?
Yeah.
So with Madden, there are players who I think are legitimately well above the norm when it comes to skill, and therefore it shows. Yeah. So, like, to sit there and say Madden is less about skill than something that isn't even a competitive game, I disagree. And I would tell that person they need to get on and play some weekend league, and you'll see. There are opponents that I pull sometimes. I know within the first 5 minutes I ain't beating them. It ain't happening. Unless some crazy thing happens. So I get it.
Some other drama.
Yeah.
To change topics.
Sure.
You hear the Gearbox drama?
No.
Well, Gearbox is getting a lot of heat because they signed an exclusivity deal with the what's the Fortnite Epic Game Store. They signed a 6-month exclusivity deal with Borderlands 3. So Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 got review bombed on Steam. And that people are showing hate.
I mean, I don't know. I hate exclusivity. Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is if it's not a first-party title, I wouldn't say review bomb anything. I think that's kind of a dumb thing to do. I've always felt that way, but I've never been a fan of exclusivity. I get it. Microsoft makes Halo. Halo's an Xbox exclusive. I get that, okay? I'm not arguing that. Like God of War with Sony. But one of my biggest pet peeves is when a third party... Then again, sometimes they get a lot of money to do it, so I get that.
Yeah. The percentage of money they make per sale is a lot more in Epic Game Stores than Steam.
Well, then I just talk myself out of it. To me, like, go get your money.
Yeah, they make more money on Epic than Steam.
Then go do it.
The Gearbox director was like clapping back at people on Twitter.
I mean, I get that some people really like Steam, because I like Steam. I love Steam. It's awesome. But if the money's there, wouldn't you take it?
Why not? Straight cash, homie.
Well, the other thing, too, is I assume that the fact that they actually signed some kind of an exclusivity deal, not only are they getting more per sale, they're probably getting some kind of lump sum somewhere along the line, which is obviously beneficial. And with games being harder and harder to develop now, I feel like an idiot, because earlier I was saying I hate exclusivity, but like I'm talking myself out of it. From a business perspective, it makes sense. I mean, people got really mad at Tomb Raider. I don't know if you remember Square Enix signing like a timed exclusivity deal very similar to this for Xbox, where the newer Tomb Raider games were only on Xbox for like the first year or two. Yeah, and people hated it. But they got paid, and Square Enix needed money because they're Tomb like Raider everybody else.
It wasn't a launch title, but it came out near launch title for Xbox.
Yeah. That was a good game, by the way. So go get your money, Gearbox. I'm with
To the
you.
actual topic, Detective Pikachu hype.
I just want to talk about Detective Pikachu. Like, I feel like this game.
I watched the trailer.
Oh well, so they've come out with two trailers. They're very similar, so maybe it's just one, and it's just like different cuts. And then they came out with one today that was like a 1 minute, like little bonus trailer. Didn't really show
All I've
much.
seen is screenshots
Yeah.
and your cups. And
Well,
also the poster.
so my wife dropped $40 at 7-Eleven the other day.
As you do.
Well, no, I've never dropped $40 at 7-Eleven. Other than buying gas, I've never dropped $40 at 7-Eleven in my life.
Why not? I think the most I've ever spent in the store is probably like $12.
I would struggle to find a way to spend $40 in a 7-Eleven, but my wife did because apparently she comes home and she's got all kinds of Detective Pikachu merchandise, cups and straws, and they're selling Detective Pikachu plushies. So she brought one of those home. She posted it on Twitter.
To, them tweeting at you.
Oh yeah, they're really active on Twitter. Like they reply to a lot of people that use that hashtag on Twitter. My wife is so hyped up for this movie, it's not funny. I found myself getting really hyped up for this movie. The more I see of it, the more I'm excited about it. And they've got advanced tickets now that people are foaming at the mouth for, apparently, on Twitter, because when you buy tickets, you get an exclusive Pokemon TCG card that's themed towards the movie. So, by the way, my wife bought Pokemon Detective Pikachu Pokemon card game packs at 7-Eleven as well. 7-Eleven, man, you're killing me. They got a bunch of stuff. So, like, I just cannot believe that when I was a kid, like in the late 90s, maybe mid to late 90s, Pokemon came out with a movie, and I remember there being like some cross-promotional stuff, but it wasn't a huge deal. And now I feel like it's just like this massive amount of cross-promotional stuff.
Cool now.
I guess. Hey, I'm loving it because I was into it before, so I'm into it now. So can't wait for Detective Pikachu. Should be pretty cool. Andy is like going. He's going nuts. He's going nuts with the show notes. I'm watching these. They're all over the place. I wish you guys could see it. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, you'll notice. Well, if you're looking at the video version of the podcast, you'll see me looking left and going like, "What the hell is going on over here?" But yeah, Detective Pikachu, May 10th. It should be great. I'm gonna vlog it, and I'll do a movie review on the next podcast after I watch it. I'll do a non-spoiler movie review.
I'm probably gonna go to a Cincinnati Reds game May 13th. So
you could review that too.
Yeah, review the Reds. It's a Jewish community night in Cincinnati.
Jewish community night, really?
Yeah, my friend's a Jew, so we were like, let's go.
Well, I mean, hey,
He doesn't take offense to it, calling him a Jew.
Oh, ouch.
If someone takes offense to it.
Oh, please don't. Yeah, let's just... It's harmless, right?
Speaking of Jews, we go to New York. DCD Film Club this week. Midnight Cowboy.
Oh,
I thought it was a segue, and I take it.
That was a $1 million segue right there.
So Midnight Cowboy was Alex's selection this week. It's his favorite movie of all time.
Yep.
This is the first time I ever watched it. I'm sure it's the 17,000th time he's watched it.
Couldn't even count.
Released in 1969.
Yep.
And compared to A Fistful of Dollars and 2001, two movies that came around the same time, this one looks the worst of all three. Maybe the stream I watched, but it didn't look that great. Trying to say stuff before the spoilers, but I guess we got to hit to the spoiler part. So if you haven't seen the movie, there's timestamps in the description, or pause the podcast and go and check out the movie. If not, if you've seen it, continue on. And this is your spoiler warning. Let's get into it, Alex.
All right, go ahead, Andy.
I don't have much thoughts of this movie. It's really dirty.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're in New York at the time. Everything's gross. No one looks clean. Not even like the rich people.
Yeah.
Like it's super gross. Like everyone's super sweaty. There's a lot of homosexual undertones between the two friends.
See, I've heard that a lot, but I don't see it.
I don't know. It just, they don't act on it. And there's a lot of other homosexual stuff at the time, which gave it the rating X, which is the only rating X to ever win an Oscar.
Yep.
It's now a rated R movie.
Yeah.
It was all right. It didn't age well for me.
Yeah.
I did know of the movie before this. I didn't know I knew of the movie because the iconic scene of Dustin Hoffman, "Hey, I walk in here."
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously I've seen that before.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have that much thoughts of the movie this week.
Well,
which may break your heart.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I figured that, and what I've noticed, by the way, is that most of our listeners seem to agree with you more than me when it comes to movies. So the feedback that I got on 2001 was most people didn't think it was very good.
I mean, I thought it was amazing.
Meanwhile,
at first viewing, yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to think of the next one that you recommended, Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank.
Well, and by the way, like, I can't disagree that that's a tremendous movie. And after watching it once, instantly one of my favorites. I definitely put it in my top 10.
Number one ranked IMDb movie for a reason.
I think that that's very well deserved. And when it comes to Midnight Cowboy, I realize that I'm probably in the minority. I think it is my favorite movie of all time. I think it explores some really important themes. I do think it was shot well. It depends.
Yeah, it could have been the stream that I watched.
It depends. Here's the thing. It was shot in 1969, so that's number one.
Yeah. Number
two is it depends on which version you watch. They've remastered this movie at least twice by now. There's a 2007 remaster.
The Criterion Collection version.
Well, that disappoints me because that's supposed to be the best one that you can actually watch it in allegedly 4K.
It also may have been the stream, so.
Well, I don't know. As far as that, I watched it. I will say I don't actually own this movie because I've been holding out hope that they would release a 4K variant of it that has a digital copy. I don't think that's actually going to happen. So I may just break down and buy the Criterion one.
It just misses the cut in top 250 movies all time. It's a 7.9 rating on IMDb. Lowest is an 8.0.
Well, I mean, I don't know. So
really missed.
So there you go. I mean, just overall, like I said, it is my favorite movie of all time. I primarily watched this movie on Netflix, and I watched it this week on Amazon. And I will say that compared to watching it, on physical media, it doesn't really hold up well on the stream. But again, Andy watched the Criterion version, and apparently it didn't look that good either. So I don't know. Nevertheless, I do think it was filmed really well. There's a lot of shots in the movie that, to me, are very iconic. And I think it explores some really good themes. So, like, just to quickly go over it from a plot standpoint, starts with Joe Buck. He's in his hometown. He works
great NFL commentator.
He works a terrible job as a dishwasher at some diner, and he hates it. So he gets some cowboy get up, and he takes a bus to New York, and he goes there with the aspirations of becoming a gigolo or a male.
The story is the failure of the American dream.
It kind of is. I could see you kind of interpreting that way. I mean, like he goes there with this aspiration that he's going to become this male gigolo and females are just going to be dying to pay him for sex, right? And it just doesn't work out that way. He goes to New York. Within a couple days, he's broke. The few women that he's with, the one woman that he was with actually turns it around on him and asks him for $20. And
he gets ripped off by his future friend that has tuberculosis.
Yeah, gets ripped off by Rizzo, a.k.a. Ratso, played by Dustin Hoffman.
Rizzo,
Rico. And he gets put with this religious fanatic, and it freaks him out. He runs out of there. He tries to find Rizzo, can't find him. Runs into him later. They end up squatting in some condemned building, and in a weird way, they become friends. Ratso gets him his first actual paid gig, and they try to get to Miami. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in between. There's, like Andy talked about homosexual undertones, and I think that it's really important to the story.
There's homosexual scenes too.
Yeah, there are scenes that have that kind of stuff, and I think what really makes it powerful for me is every time you see those kinds of scenes, you can see that Joe isn't into it. He's just doing it because he has to.
But then on the other side, there's the scene where he's with a woman and he can't get it up.
Yeah, but he had taken all those drugs at that party, and you sit there and you go, maybe it's that. Maybe it is that he's so desensitized to sexual acts now. So to me, the main themes that make this movie so powerful to me are really two. Both main characters in the movie, both Rizzo, played by Dustin Hoffman, and Joe Buck, played by Jon Voight. First off, side note, I think it's both of their most powerful roles in film. I think both, and they've done a lot.
It's Jon Voight's first main role,
and I think that both of them killed it. I think it's, to me, there's a lot of great Dustin Hoffman movies. The Graduate.
That was right before this.
Yeah, literally. And he almost didn't take this role. His agent didn't want him to. Jon Voight, I think this is by and far his best movie that he's ever done. And the themes that really stuck out to me were, one, both characters seem to think the grass is greener on the other side, right? Ratso wants to go to Miami. He thinks it's going to be wonderful for him there. Everything where he's at is terrible. And he thinks that if he changes his geographical location and nothing else, he'll be fine. And everything will be great. And the same thing with Joe. Joe moves from what looks like the Midwest to New York to, change his life around. All he's going to do is just become this new person, become a male gigolo, and it doesn't work out. And it kind of, the theme that I get from it, the lesson that I learned from this movie is that it's so easy to look outside and say things would be better if I was there, or things would be better if this, when in reality there's a lot of stuff that you have to fix, where you're at. And it's not all external. And the other factor of it is the fragility of both characters really stands out. When you watch it multiple times, you see like the undertones that Joe was raped as a young man. They really strongly hint at like misconduct by his grandmother towards him. And it was a very odd relationship, and how that can kind of lead to a life of, from a sexual standpoint, struggling to know what a real and healthy relationship is. And I think that's something that really showed. And then you look at Ratso, same thing. Like, he was so scarred by his family growing up in poverty and his father dying at a young age that he just thought he couldn't do any better. So like, that's the other thing that I got from it, is the way you're raised sometimes can put you in this weird bubble, whether it's a positive or a negative one, where you think that you just can't do any better
Yeah.
than the people that you were surrounded with. And then finally, I think what this movie really achieves at the end that's positive and heartwarming, even though the ending is really heartbreaking, is that at the end, Joe's willing to do anything for Ratso because that's literally his family. That's the only semblance of family that he has. And in fact, when he's beating up the businessman, I believe his name was Towney, when he's beating that guy up in the hotel room,
Go to Miami.
Yeah, he like screams at the guy, "I've got family." And he's talking about Ratso. And like when he, like, the one moment that like always gets me to tear up a little bit before the ending is when Joe gets the clothes for Ratso, and they're like Miami style clothes, and he's wearing those clothes too. And he throws out the cowboy outfit. He just throws it in a trash can. And it's just so powerful. It's like at that moment he realizes what I was aiming for, it was never going to happen. It wasn't the right thing to do. And I'm just going to try to make an honest living in Miami and figure this thing out. And then unfortunately, the ending happens. And I don't care who you are. It's emotional. It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
The ending, I felt like, I was just like, that's the ending. I didn't particularly love the ending.
You know what I heard is that a lot of people that saw it in theaters left irritated. Like they left really mad.
Mad or anything. I was just like, that's like, obviously it's not a happy ending. Which isn't something I'll like. That's not something I knock like a movie off for not having a happy ending. There's great movies that have not happy endings. There's just like a weird spot to end at.
So as sad as it is, I think it's kind of beautiful in a way.
Yeah. And also the flashbacks, as you mentioned, the whole his grandma and stuff. I wish they utilized that more in the the last act of the movie, the third act. It just ignores all the flashbacks. Doesn't really have a resolution, or like a reasoning behind all the all the flashbacks.
If there is one,
you can kind of take them and like it builds the characters. Yes,
yeah,
it'll build the character, and then you have Ratso's like his dreams. They both have dreams at some point. But like they don't like really, do anything with that.
No, I agree with you there. I think that's one thing that I wish they were. So if they were really direct with it, I'm sure people would say, well, that's too in your face or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe it's better that they hinted at it. I don't know. I'm not a director, and I'm certainly not a writer, and I don't claim to be. But what I will say is in the novel, they do kind of flesh out those things a little bit more. And you do kind of figure out, instead of it being strongly hinted at, it's kind of explicitly laid out.
Have you read the book?
Part of me, yeah, and part of me thinks that why they didn't bring that over from the novel was to try and avoid the X rating. Because back then that was kind of a kiss of death, but it did get it anyway. And I can kind of see why. And then eventually, like very much later, it has been re-rated. I think right now it carries an R
2
rating.
Years later.
Yeah, so like it carries an R rating.
71. And
yeah.
Now it's an R-rated movie. It's the only X-rated movie to win Best Picture at the Oscars. And the year before, in 1968, I don't remember the movie name, was the only G-rated movie to win. So it kind of was like, it's kind of funny that like the only G-rated movie the next year, the dirtiest, most, it's not like super dirty and grimy for today's standards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the time, it was pretty shocking.
It's a nice timepiece. Like you can,
it is,
like feel like you're in New York in the movie.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that the first 2 minutes in the movie, that one scene where he like lights the cigarette, turns to the camera real fast. It's just like such an iconic shot. I don't know, man. I love it. I think it's one of the greatest films in American history. And if you haven't already watched it, I would encourage you to just watch it one time, and you might like it. I didn't think I would like it. That's what's crazy is somebody told me about the movie, and I thought, I won't like this. And I watched and just fell in love with it after the first time, and then watched it a billion times afterwards. So I appreciate you guys checking it out with me. So that's our review. Oh, out of 10, I give this a 9.5.
Less than 2001 Space, or maybe the same. I don't remember.
No, I will never give anything a perfect 10 because I think there's always something to be improved upon.
This may be the biggest difference between.
Oh, geez.
No, it's definitely not. Now think about it. Originally, I was gonna give it a 5.
Ooh.
But I gave it a 6 just because of its importance to cinema history.
That's fair.
Because
that's fair.
It changed the course of history. Like it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the slasher genre. You can visually see, like, even if you just go to like the best pictures in the Oscars, there's a huge difference between whenever this wins best picture in movies.
Yeah. Well, I hope some of you enjoyed it out there. Totally off topic. Well, not totally off topic, but I've always wished I could find that jacket. You know, like if they would do a reproduction, I'd buy that. But I've never been able to find a reproduction of that Joe Buck jacket. I'd wear it unironically. Anyway, our pick for next week came from the listeners, and we ran a poll on Twitter. And the suggestion from @dumbest Sphinx on Twitter won, and that's The Lobster, which was made in 2015. And originally I thought this was like some kind of C-grade horror film when I heard The Lobster, and then I found out this is something that was completely off of my radar that I've never seen before, but I actually watched a trailer for it, and it looks pretty interesting.
Fun fact, I don't know if he knows this, but one day he tweeted to recommend me a movie, and I recommended him The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And this is by the same director of that, same director of last year's The Favorite. Very fantastic film creator. Don't know how to pronounce his name at all. It's like Yorgos Lanthimos, something like that.
I know that name because I can like see it in my head, but I don't know how to pronounce it either.
It's a Greek name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't seen The Lobster, but I have seen The Favorite. I have seen The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I really enjoy those.
I'm looking forward to it so much. I'm actually buying the Blu-ray because I found the Blu-ray for $12. So
It's also on Netflix for those that don't want to go out and buy the Blu-ray.
Oh, there you go. Even better. So, like, if you don't want to buy the Blu-ray, great. I'm gonna buy the Blu-ray. I'm gonna trust my boy Dumbest Sphinx in that he's picked a great movie, and I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray because they have it for $12, where you get the Bluray and the digital HD version. So, thanks, Dumbest Sphinx, for the suggestion.
Have you seen any of those movies that he's directed?
I don't think so.
The Killing of the Sacred Deer.
No, I have not seen that one. No, I just know the name. I just know the name because I've seen him lauded by critics. But I'm looking forward to this one. I watched the trailer and I was like, this looks neat. This looks neat, and it has a lot of funny people in it. So should be. Looks like it's a little bit of a drama / comedy. So moving on to sports.
We have a lot of sports topics.
Yeah.
Start off with a little congratulations to you. It's something I only put congratulations in the little notes for us, so you don't really know what I'm congratulating you on. But your Florida Panthers hired 3-time Stanley Cup coach Joel Quenneville, or Coach Q for you hockey fans, which is a huge signing. You should be very happy as a Panther fan.
I am happy. I mean, they didn't really take too much time to hire him, so hopefully it'll be a good one. God, I would just love to see the Panthers like have one good year, but it never seems to come together. So
let's continue talking about stuff you like. WrestleMania 35 happened. the day the last episode released, and you obviously watched it. You're the WWE fan. I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I actually had to work and then drive home, obviously.
Yeah. So I'll talk about it really quickly, because it was quite the card. What I will say is this, man. This year's WrestleMania, I feel like they really got it right. They did a good job of creating good story arcs leading up to WrestleMania. I'm going to give you the quickest review I possibly can. So number one, in one of my streams last week, somebody was saying, man, I really wish they had John Cena and The Undertaker in this card. And, I said that that's not really such a great thing to do because they're part-timers, and why not give it to the full-timers that are on the road 300 days a year. So I've just got to say, man, like, this was a good card from top to bottom. You look at the opening pre-show, you got Tony Nese defeating Buddy Murphy to win the Cruiserweight Championship. That was a great match to start off on. I think the Cruiserweights are always good to get the crowd hyped up. You got Carmella winning the Women's Battle Royal. Not really a big deal. But, the Women's Battle Royal and the Andre the Giant Battle Royal are just kind of throwaway things to me. They don't mean anything. That's the only thing that I don't like about them. But then you have Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins defeating the Revival to win the tag team championships for Raw. That was actually a really good match. I never thought those two would win. They ended up winning it. And then you got Rollins to kick off the main card. If you started watching at 7, you got Rollins beating Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Great match. They kept it simple.
2 minutes.
But Lesnar can't do much. He doesn't want to do much. So, like, I'm okay with it.
I started watching Shane McMahon's fight.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Styles, Randy Orton was a hell of a match. I felt like they tore the house down. Shane McMahon, The Miz, that definitely tore the house down.
Skip the Uso.
See, the Usos match was pretty good. But, the thing is, like, I know a lot of people wanted a title change there. The women's tag team match was great. The Iconics winning it was a little bit of a shock.
So the biggest
I feel like it
upset of the night?
Definitely the biggest upset of the night. I felt like it really set the tone for a new feud between them and Bayley and Sasha Banks, which will be very entertaining because the Iconics are great. Even though they portray them as these spineless heels, they're very good in the ring. And then you got, there's just so much other good stuff here. Kofi Kingston wins the WWE Championship. First African-American to hold that belt.
I didn't like the match.
I thought it was a good match.
I think it was carried on too much, and there's two, like, you obviously want some close calls in a fight. I think there was just, like, too much close calls to where it's just like, this is getting ridiculous.
The too many false finishes, yeah. I could see that. I mean, they do that with WrestleMania sometimes, and then there's the complete opposite, like Samoa Joe defeating Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns defeating Drew McIntyre. Both of those were pretty one-sided. Triple H defeats Batista. That was probably that was the one match between part-timers. So, and then Baron Corbin defeating Kurt Angle. Finn Balor wins the Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch wins both women's titles in the first women's main event. That was a great match, too, aside from Ronda Rousey being a botch fest. And she apparently broke her hand during the match, which good for her because she kept telling everybody that wrestling was fake in the lead up to WrestleMania. Overall, what I will say is this, man. I like this card because... I'm sorry?
There was a thing where if she lost in the main event, she's going to leave.
She probably is. I mean, I don't think anybody cares at this point. Because here's the thing about Ronda Rousey. She came in and everybody was really excited because she portrayed herself as a wrestling type person, like into it. And then over the course of the next couple months, she kind of proved that she wasn't really into it that much. And like, if you're not going to be passionate about it, listen, if you don't care, why should the fans care? That's kind of my take. Yeah, look here, look, listen. So, what I really liked about this card is there was only one high-profile match that featured part-timers. I know you could say Beth Phoenix in the women's tag team match, but there were 7 other women in there that were full-timers. They only had one match that had nothing but part-timers in it, and that's a good thing. This is the WrestleMania fans have been wanting for years.
Excluding the Battle Royale.
Well, yeah, okay. That's fair. But I mean, like, that's what I'll say was positive about it, right?
Yeah.
Lots of good fan favorite finishes, which is traditional for WrestleMania. Two, no overwhelming presence of part timers. 3 years ago, I went to WrestleMania and they had Triple H in a high profile match with Seth Rollins. They had The Undertaker in a high profile match against Roman Reigns. And you're like, two of their best full timers tied up in part timer matches. It's dumb. So like, I feel like this was the card that we all wanted. Great story arc, great presentation. The only thing I will take away from it that I will say is a negative is it was far too long. It ended near like 12:30. So if you started watching the pre-show at 6 like I did, you watched 6.5 hours of wrestling. It's too much, man. Cut it down at least an hour. But what were your thoughts about WrestleMania as a non-wrestling fan?
Someone that, I mean, I like wrestling. That's a lie. I just don't watch it from time to time. I'm too busy. Like, you could say I'm the guy that watches Royal Rumble and WrestleMania every year, and that's it. But like, I don't know, I kind of keep up with it. It's just I don't have the time to watch every Monday, every Tuesday.
It is overwhelming.
It's also kind of hard to get in a groove watching the same, like getting into it.
It's a lot of content to digest in 1 week.
But as someone that started at the Shane McMahon match, that's probably the best match of the night, in my opinion. Shane McMahon and The Miz.
Yeah, it was a good one.
It wasn't that incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like... They were all good, but there wasn't like a huge standout match. And then I do have gripes with the Kofi Kingston fight. And then the Becky Lynch one was kind of disappointing. It was really just like mainly let's beat up on Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, but
for 20 minutes.
She just doesn't have the in-ring skill.
Like the whole match is basically like, let's try to break off Ronda Rousey's arm. Or then on the other end, Charlotte was trying to break her legs.
It's what happens when you try to hot shot someone. I mean, Ronda Rousey is a world-class fighter. Like, it's undoubtable. But pro wrestling's totally different.
And also, like, all the fights, besides the Iconics, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that those people were going to win.
That's fair.
The Iconics one was surprising, to be fair. Completely out of left field for me.
Yeah, I didn't see that happening at all. My wife was really upset about it. She likes Bayley and Sasha a lot, so. But overall, WrestleMania 35, good one. Looking forward to Money in the Bank.
See you in February, WWE.
No, Money in the Bank.
I watched it after. Have you seen it yet?
I got 2 hours into it. I DVR them and I watch them on the weekends. Yeah, I'm weird like
next
that.
Topic. This past week, some controversy between former Miami Marlin Derek Dietrich destroying a ball into the river and staring it down. And then Chris Archer got kind of mad and a brawl occurred. Yasiel Puig almost murdered the entire Pittsburgh Pirates team.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what's your thoughts on pimping home runs.
I'm kind of... I see both ends. So, Dietrich, what he did... Traditionally,
by the way, he hit 2 home runs in that game.
He did. He hit one after they threw at him, which I thought was the ultimate FU. But first off, Derek Dietrich, I miss you, man. You were great as a Marlin, and you could play like 8 different positions. It was crazy. He was so good. The ultimate utility man who, if you had an open slot on the roster, he could probably play it. But Dietrich filling in at first base, blasts a home run and stares it down. And, I'll be honest, I play baseball. You do that, you're probably going to get thrown at. You know that.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid, though. I think I've always felt like the concept in baseball of I'm going to throw at a guy because he stared down a home run or because he flipped a bat after a home run, I think it's stupid.
I
Because
think pitchers
people
should get
can
banned for throwing at
legit.
players.
I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly, they should have thrown that pitcher out of the game immediately. And I think that if you get caught purposely beaning someone, you should probably get suspended.
The only time in baseball I think it's acceptable to bean someone is if you bean someone, we're gonna bean one of your guys.
I hate that too. I hate
But
that
still,
too.
it's fair.
It's fair, but I hate it.
Hand for a hand, an eye for an eye.
I hate it.
But also on the other end, Chris Archer himself celebrates strikeouts. In that game, he got his third out, and I think it was like the fourth inning or something like that, and then moonwalked off the mound and celebrated. No one gets in a fit about that. But if Derek Dietrich just stares down, just watches his home run, didn't do a bat flip or anything, he gets like a brawl occurs.
So I've always been of the opinion, do I think that you should throw at a guy for staring down a home run? Absolutely not. Is it professional? No, it's not. I think it's showboating and like act like
It's
you.
more entertaining for the fans.
I know, but act like you've been there before. I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, but I really like even saying that. I still don't think that it warrants throwing a ball at some guy like that. I'm not a big fan.
Because I don't remember who said it. I think it was Pete Rose, but you play for the fans and not the final result. And pimping home runs is
That's fair.
more appealing to the fans.
That's fair. I mean yeah, okay.
Like people love when like Edwin Encarnacion, every time he hits home run, he flies the parrot around. People love seeing that stuff.
Yeah. But good for Dietrich. He hit that second home run, showed them who's boss. And then they lost the game.
Yeah.
Baseball's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. The Reds have not had a great start.
Yeah. Pitching isn't very good.
They have one game outside the Marlins.
It's like it started on the Marlins. They're so bad.
Hey, the Marlins, who they beat? They beat the Braves. That's who it was. No? Yeah, it was the Braves. They beat the Braves.
Lost to the Mets 2 out of 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won a series against the Rockies.
Ooh.
Actually, never mind. That was a 4-game series. They tied a series. With the
Yeah,
Rockies,
like, I don't know, man. I'm not really...
which is a win in a Marlins book. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be...
I think they're going to flirt, much like last year. I think they're going to flirt with 100 games lost.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Victor Mesa got hurt, apparently.
Again. Yay.
Yeah. Moving on, still more baseball. The White House steps in and bans the purchasing of Cuban players signed contracts with the Cuban Baseball League. Which it makes sense for both ends. It sucks for baseball because Cuba's a huge market of players where a lot of the top guys in the league are from Cuba.
Yeah.
But the White House is banning it because the purchase of those players goes straight to the Cuban government.
I mean, it's fair. And boy, I know this is going to be unpopular.
It's rough.
One of the things that I've always disliked about Cuban baseball players is how they're given a fast track towards citizenship, whereas a normal Cuban person would have to work theoretically for years, maybe more, to get citizenship. And
I mean,
I just don't think that
they get a high-paying job.
That's true. I get that. I'm just saying, like, I hate the idea of you know what? I'm not going to try to get too political here, but like one of my biggest pet peeves is people who try to jump the line to citizenship, right? People who are an illegal immigrant and they ask for amnesty, or people who are an advocate for illegal immigrants just being granted citizenship because well, they've been here for so long, so just give them the citizenship. Well, that's not fair to the people who went through the process. It's not fair to the people that are waiting in line.
Rich, and they kicked him out of the country.
Well, as they should, because there's so many people. I work with 2 people who came here on work visas, okay? And they applied for citizenship over and over and over again. And they finally got it. And they worked really hard to get that. So when somebody comes over and they just basically get handed it
instantly
because they can hit a fastball, it kind of annoys me because those guys worked their butt off for it. It's just fairness, man. That's all I'm asking for is fairness. So I get it. Also, the Cuban government, I don't care what anybody says, completely corrupt. Completely to the core.
I mean, what government isn't?
No, but they really mistreat their people, man. You say whatever you want about the American government. The typical American citizen has a decent quality of life. Those people over in Cuba are mistreated.
The movie we just watched. Literally, the movie we just watched just disproves what you just said.
Listen, he decided to try and become a gigolo. Okay, that's different. I mean,
That's the American dream.
I'm just saying, man, like I will sit down with you, okay? And this is probably more of an Al Talks Aliens type podcast deal, right? But I will sit down and tell you all the things that are wrong with the American government. I think they lie to us every day. I think that they cover things up. I think that there are conspiracies, and I'm not even talking about the really crazy stuff. I'm just saying they lie to you about stuff all the time. And I think
even like the biggest news story this year. Why can't we see the Mueller report? Why can't it just be released?
Good question. But my point is not even going that deep. I think they've bought out a lot of the media. I think a lot of the media is paid for and scrutinized, and I'm fairly certain that this policy went over to the next administration, but I know under the Obama administration, there was somebody from the Obama administration in most of the major news networks, buildings, kind of looking at things and giving suggestions on how to frame things up. Whether you were conservative or liberal network, you had somebody in there, and I guarantee you with the current administration, that's still the case. So, I mean, as much as I don't like the American government, I think that American citizens have a decent quality of life, whereas Cuban citizens, I think, are being mistreated, and it's terrible. And it's a very... I know a lot of people say they live under communism. They live under a dictatorship. That's the problem, and that's never good. I can't really think. I'm sure somebody will be in the comments and be like, Napoleon was great. But, I can't think of any dictatorship that's ever been successful from, a historical standpoint. I'm really trying to rack my brain. I'm sorry?
Would you consider a king a dictator?
I think monarchy is a stupid principle. Now I feel like a social justice warrior. I'm angry.
Is he a dictator?
Oh, yeah.
He's very successful. He almost controlled all of Asia.
I'm talking about the citizens' quality of life. Those people were practically slave labor to him.
I bet, the Roman people probably had a good life for the times.
Yeah, but, didn't they have, Senate and things like that?
Yeah. But still, at the end of the day, it was... Caesar's.
I'm talking about dictators. Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I see what you're saying.
I'm trying to say one thing, where quality of life in a dictatorship.
We could probably do a whole podcast on that, but it's just me getting on my soapbox about Cuba.
Dictators suck after they watched Animal Farm. Or read Animal Farm.
It's a great book.
I read it and watched the movie.
Movie's good. Book's better.
Yeah.
Like most things.
Well, the movie version, I don't know if there's... The movie I watched was an animated version of the audiobook.
They made an actual movie, and I think it was just basically played on TV. I think it was a made-for-TV movie. And it was good. It's just the book's better.
To more lighthearted stuff before we get to our next topic. Did you see the black hole picture?
Mm-mm.
So there was a scientist took a picture of a black hole.
Wait, where?
It's all over Twitter. If you
Hold
Google
on.
black
Let's look
hole,
this in. Let's
the
look this
first
up.
ever image of a black hole was released, which you can't really see much, but it's a picture of a black hole, which is cool.
Oh, jeez, man. You can see it.
Yeah. Now
Wow.
talks alien stuff, but it's crazy.
No, you know what? You know what? This is a big deal because
It's 55 million light years away.
for years and years and years, decades, people have been saying the idea of a black hole is mostly theoretical, right?
Yeah.
That we've never captured one in principle, or we've found signs of a black hole, but never. This is a huge deal, man. As blurry as it is, it's amazing.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the picture, Google it. It's all over Google.
Yeah,
It's the
just
like
look
the
it up.
Google, like how they changed their like thing. Right now, it's a picture of the black hole.
Yeah, this is that. Wow,
Surprised you didn't see that.
it's terrifying, but also cool at the same time.
So our next topic, the playoffs are going on in NHL and NBA. We're not going to get to the NHL one, even though the Blue Jackets got a huge win today. We're not getting the NHL one because most people just don't like the NHL. The Lightning are probably going to win it all. I'll say that. Alex isn't really that into it. But we do have the NBA playoffs starting off. Right now, the 8th seed isn't set, but I'm sure that's not going to change who we have going on. We're going to do our first round predictions and who we think is going to make it to the finals and win it all.
Okay.
Alex has a shocked face on us. Starting off in the Western Conference, we have the 57-win Golden State Warriors up against the 47-win Los Angeles Clippers. I'm a really big fan of the Clippers this year. They have a super nice team without a star. Doc Rivers should be Coach of the Year candidate, but they aren't the Golden State Warriors. Golden State will probably sweep or win.
So you got Golden State.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And then we have the 4th and 5th seed. We have the Portland Trailblazers. 52-win Portland Trailblazers up against the Utah Jazz with 50 wins. And I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz upset here. Probably going to go to around Game 5 or Game 6. Portland did suffer a huge injury under center Yusuf Nurkic, going down a very gruesome injury if you saw that. But Utah's playing at full strength. I think they can take it round 1.
Yeah, I'm taking Jazz.
Then we have the Oklahoma City Thunder surprising 6th seed up against the Houston Rockets. And I'm going with another upset. OKC in 7.
Nah, man, I can't bet against the Rockets. I really like them.
All right, then we have the Denver Nuggets versus Greg Popovich is always here. San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs playing against the super young Denver Nuggets. I believe Denver will get eliminated early on, but I think they have the star power to surpass San Antonio.
Yeah, I got Denver here too.
And move on to the Eastern Conference. We have Milwaukee Bucks versus the Detroit Pistons. And Milwaukee is the best record in the league. Milwaukee's dominant. And Detroit really doesn't have anything going for them.
Yeah, Milwaukee, I think, takes this one. I also want to say kudos to them winning 60 games. That's a hard thing to do. Like, there's a big gap between a 50-win team and a 60-win team. So, Bucks are...
They have 9 wins. The best... Record-based, the best team in the playoffs versus the worst team in the playoffs the first round.
Yeah, I think the Bucks are going to make a quick series of that one.
And then next round we have my Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. Boston Celtics have a huge injury, and Marcus Smart is going to project to be out this round and the second round, which is very suffering. But on the other side of the table, the Pacers don't have Victor Oladipo. He's out for the rest of the season, obviously. And I think the Celtics squeeze one out in maybe Game 6.
Yeah, I like the Celtics a lot here. I think the Oladipo thing's just really detrimental. I think they had Oladipo. By the way, I wish he was still with the Magic, but they had Oladipo. I think they make more of a series out of this, but Celtics all the way here.
Then we have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets. And same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks and Detroit. I just don't think the Nets have the star power to take down Philadelphia.
I want the Nets to do well, but I know they won't. So I'm going 76ers here. But
I do have
huge
the Sixers losing early on.
Huge props to the Nets, man. They have not had draft picks. They made a competitive team out of literally nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of impressive.
It is. Trivia question. Speaking of the Nets being magical. When's the last time the Indiana Pacers had a top 5 pick? If you want to talk about insane rebuild. You're thinking really hard on this.
I want to say it was like 2000 when they got like Ray Traylor. Wow.
They haven't had a top 5 pick since 1988.
Yeah, but it doesn't surprise me too much because the Pacers always find a way to remain competitive, and they also draft really well.
Speaking of drafting really well, we have the Toronto Raptors, a team of 0 lottery picks, not a single lottery pick on this team against the Orlando Magic. And sorry, Orlando, but Toronto in 4.
No, you're right. You're right. They faced Toronto a couple weeks ago, and they were stomped.
Yeah. Toronto's good.
Toronto's really good. I mean, if you're Kawhi Leonard, I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay, but maybe you go to the Clippers. I don't know.
Yeah. So who you got in the finals?
So I think the Bucks are going to take it. Barring a Greek freak injury, I think the Bucks go right through. And if it's not, and if the Bucks don't go through, it's the 76ers. But I'm going to go with the Bucks and the Rockets. And I think we get Bucks Rockets, and I think that the Rockets will use their veteran prowess to overcome the Bucks and win it all.
I have completely different people.
Yeah.
Figured the fact that I have the Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. As much as I want to pick my Boston Celtics, like, it wouldn't be surprising if they made it to the finals if they just click. But I can't be like, if this happens. The Raptors are great. The Bucks are great. The only thing that I have against the Bucks is their playoffs last year. Hopefully they can get together, play good. Like last year, they collapsed in the playoffs. And then I have the Golden State Warriors completing their three-peat.
I just want
something different.
Well, yeah, because like I sit there and I go, I think it would be good for the NBA if any of the teams in the East, none of those teams have won an NBA championship in a long time, other than the Celtics. The Celtics are kind of fresh. They won 08, right? 08 with the big three. Beyond that,
the Bucks, I can't tell you. Detroit.
Bucks won one time in the 70s. Raptors have never won. 76ers haven't won since the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. Celtics haven't won since 08. I can't remember when the Pacers ever won it.
They haven't.
The New Jersey Nets, I don't think they've won since the 70s. Magic have never won one. Detroit hasn't won one since 90. 89. Oh,
2004.
That's right. 04. Still, that's 15 years. So I think anybody taking it from the East would be a huge positive for the NBA because it would make people feel like it's interesting again. And then even in the West, I look at it from top to bottom. As long as this isn't the Warriors, none of these teams have won a championship recently other than the Spurs. Right? Okay, Andy has disconnected, so I'm running solo for the moment. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to entertain you guys, so I'm going to talk about other stuff right now. Oh man, I'm really big on the screen right now. Oh wait, here we go. We got Andy, just a picture. Some guy smoking a cigarette. I'm not sure who that is. So, how about Bigfoot, you guys? Who do you think? Who do you think's gonna find him? Do you think he's real? Do you think he's not real? Put a comment in the YouTube section. Just let me know. Do you think Bigfoot? Or you could tweet us at Dead Channel Duo on Twitter. You could just tweet me and be like, "Hey, man. I think Bigfoot's real, or I think he's not real, or I think that you're just full of it." I think he's out there, man. I think he's out there. I just think that he might not be what we think he is. Maybe not necessarily like a lost ancestor of like a missing link or something like that. Maybe it's just a species that we just haven't identified yet. Maybe it's a species that we thought was extinct.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Bigfoot. I had to fill time.
Oh. Yeah, 2004.
2004, yeah, man. So, like, and then I was saying in the West, man, like, other than the Warriors, like, nobody that's in the playoffs other than Spurs has won any time recently. So it would be really cool if somebody new wins it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if the Trailblazers somehow pull it off, right? Wouldn't that be the ultimate moment for small market teams? Like Damian Lillard could have left a billion times over, but he won it all in Portland.
But I mean, they almost got beat by a G League team yesterday.
Okay, well, you know what? Portland has the best jerseys in the NBA. Don't at me. I hope they win it all.
We will be talking about Portland next week in a future topic to hint at the next episode. But speaking of next episodes, I think it's called an episode.
Yeah. Sorry your Discord crapped out, man.
Yeah. Celtics. It's gonna be rough without Marcus Smart, but band together we still have numbers. Bruins. God, the playoff seeding in NHL sucks. We got completely screwed over. We got to play against Toronto, a team that we've beaten the last two playoffs, which is something in sports. It's hard to beat the same team over and over and over again. That's one of the hardest things to do, is beat the same team over and over again. And they added John Tavares, biggest free signing in NHL the past decade. So hopefully we get through. And if we get through that, we get to play statistically the greatest team of all time, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it's going to be rough playoffs for me and my Bruins. The Red Sox have been terrible. And just looking forward to the draft for the 49ers. Nick Bosa, welcome to the team.
Well, hopefully Nick Bosa falls to you guys. I hope so for 49ers fans' sake. I think the Cardinals will be dumb enough to take Kyler Murray. Or, I do believe in the conspiracy theory, by the way, that the Cardinals might be hinting at taking Kyler Murray in the hopes that somebody will stupidly give them a bunch of stuff to trade up for him. So, it could be one or the other. Yeah, if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm hoping it's the latter, because I think Josh Rosen's still pretty good.
As much as I want Kyler Murray to succeed, I can't fathom him being good in the NFL.
That kind of sums up my feelings. Yeah,
I want to be wrong. You could call me out of this in the future if he wins the Super Bowl or wins MVP or whatever. I really want him to succeed. I never want anyone to fail. Even like Russell Wilson, like the 49ers. I would never wish failure on him.
Yeah.
As I think we're lagged. Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
But maybe not.
No, I can hear you.
You can hear me the whole time?
Yep.
All right, well, you lagged on my screen. I would never wish injury on anyone or failure on anyone, but I just can't see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on today. There seems to be quite a bit of lag in Discord. Not sure why that is. So I apologize if there's any issues with the final product. Real quick, want to do what I always do, guys, and tell you about the t-shirt link in the description. Somebody bought a t-shirt last week, but they didn't tell me who they were, so I couldn't thank them personally. But thank you to whoever bought that t-shirt and a sticker. Somebody bought a decal from T-Public, so thank you for that. And then if you're watching the video version of this podcast, there is an audio-only version. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, everything, Spotify. We're out there on everything other than SoundCloud. And then if you're listening to the audio-only version, you're like, why does Alex keep talking about Andy flipping his cat around? Well, there's a video version on YouTube that you can check out as well. So downloads have been great this month. So I know there's a lot of new listeners out there. I want to thank you for coming aboard. And I also want to thank you for going back and listening to all the old episodes, because it's been very clear that people are going back and downloading every single episode. So thank you for that.
Follow us on Twitter at Deadshot Duo.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, you could keep up with us there. We post polls for the DCD Film Club, and we try to stay somewhat active on there, but we could probably do a little bit better job of that.
Yeah. Or follow Alex at Swordfish Show and me at Andy Holsey, HULSEY 88.
Yep, there you go. But that's going to do it for DCD 24, and we'll see you next week for DCD 25. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.